crew of 5,800. They will take this ship on a 6-month, 45,000-mile odyssey to the Persian Gulf, into the eye of danger. This is the story of the carrier Carl Vinson and Argonauts of our time.
Do you miss me yet?
I love you!
Do you miss me yet?
As they board the ship in San Francisco, the sailors know they will not see their loved ones for 6 months. There are no Navy women in the crew on this voyage.
It's extremely painful leaving your kids, knowing that you will not see your wife or your children for 6 months, and then come back and almost expect everything to be normal. It will not be normal.
You guys be good. No fighting. All right.
The young ones, they don't really understand yet, which is good. But that's just part of Daddy's work, you know, that he's got to go.
I love you. I hate the Navy.
When the Carl Vinson takes to the Pacific, her aircraft are still on shore. The crew comb the flight deck.
We try to get several hundred people to scour the deck looking for small metal objects. Gas turbine engines are very susceptible to damage to their blades and the compressor sections by ingestion of foreign objects. And even its little teeny rivets can totally damage an engine. The cost runs between about $65,000 and $75,000 to repair.
Landing a plane on a carrier is no less difficult and dangerous than the act of a high-wire performer, a life or death test of skill, involving dozens of men on the flight deck and below. Unlike normal landings at airports, carrier pilots do not cut power as they slam the plane down. Instead, they hit full throttle. If they miss the cables, they have to have enough power to take off again.
You're overpowered, a little compressed.
Crucial to getting the planes aboard are LSOs, the landing signal officers. From an exposed position on the stern, they radio instructions to the pilots. They also grade every pilot on every landing.
What we're shooting for here is put your aircraft moving at 150 miles an hour, 50,000 pounds of aircraft, putting it on a 4x4 foot block of steel, moving at 30 miles an hour. Little low, full, slowly close.
Out here on the LSO platform, we're really exposed to all the aircraft coming in on approaches, and if one of them were to get out of control and it looks like they're either going to hit the ramp or, well, crash into the platform, we've only got one place to go.
360 Hornet. Battery.
The weight setting for each landing plane must be entered on the battery of 4 arresting cable engines below.
My job as the arresting gear officer is to make sure that the engines are set properly
to make sure that the gear is in battery, to confirm that the landing area is clear, and to confirm that the aircraft that's about to land is the same one that we have the weight setting set for.
The massive hydraulic piston and 2,000 feet of cable absorb a 55,000-pound controlled collision between plane and ship.
He's getting calls on his phones telling him what weights to set. They're also letting him know the location of the aircraft. When he says groove, it means the aircraft's getting ready to come in. It's real short, and he'll say short. That means everybody's got to clear away from the equipment, get their hands out of it, whatever they're doing. And then he says over the ramp or ramp, it means the aircraft is actually coming over the ship and ready to engage the equipment.
I'm Captain John Payne. I'm the commanding officer of the Carl Vinson. I have been for about 26 months or so. My background has been in aviation, as all commanding officers and executive officers of carriers must be. I want to talk now about the Carl Vinson herself. We're a big ship, 258 feet wide at the flight deck, about 150 feet at the waterline. The fastest ship in the United States Navy, practically. Greater than 30 knots. 4 catapults accelerate airplanes from 0 to 170 miles an hour in 2.5 seconds. Arresting at the other end, over 344 foot of run out will stop a plane from 170 miles an hour to 0 in about 2.5 seconds. The Carl Vinson is 1,100 feet long. From the bottom of our keel to the top of our masts, 24 stories tall. 17 of those stories have spaces that people can work and live in. If we stood on end, we'd be as tall as the Empire State Building is in New York. Are we the largest ship in the world? One of your colleagues in the back said the Abraham Lincoln's a little bigger. He must have served on the Abraham Lincoln and still have a little loyalty. The Abraham Lincoln is heavier, so she displaces more water, and it's legitimate to say she's a heavier ship. However, if you notice up on our flight deck, we have a little extension off catapult number 1 that's 15 feet long. Abraham Lincoln does not have that. So we are 15 feet longer than the Abraham Lincoln.
Slim Pickett, 25, is one of 65 aviators called Nuggets who are making their first deployment on this voyage. In a war, Slim will be an out-front target of the enemy. In peacetime, he's paid to fly, and that is what he loves to do.
I've always wanted to be a pilot. When I was a little kid, I used to go with my dad. He'd take us to air shows every once in a while, and I got to see the Blue Angels, and I always thought that would be a super neat thing to do, be a pilot. I'm kind of excited about being here, and going right out on cruise is kind of neat because this is what it's all about, really. I mean, the reason we're here is so that we can be deployed and go out and do what we're trained to in various parts of the country and have an impact on events in the world. So I am happy to be here at this point.
Some of the new guys will be getting
As a Nugget, pressure on Slim is high. The pilots are briefed for one of the first flights of the deployment.
And looked at the bomb was loaded and found an error sometime with the way the weapon was loaded and the fusing where it came off at that. Okay, now we're going where it's for real, and we really can't afford to do that. So that'll be the standard.
One of the first things I do when I get a new pilot like Slim is I assign him to a more senior individual. Slim happens to be assigned to me for this cruise. I am his what's called an on-wing, and I will take him through the various stages of not only carrier environment, carrier flying, but also strike flying and fighter flying as well.
The gun sight image tells the story of the dogfight. A square shows the track of the target.
It's about 2,000 feet is where you were cleared to maneuver. Probably the smartest thing to do, and you want to get the quickest kill, was to bleed me down at the initial turn. So what you do is you add time to my life there, where adding time to kill. Overall, nice job, but remember on your game plans there that what you did is you allowed me to live another 30 seconds. Whereas if you'd have killed me a little quicker, you probably could have got away. The longer you stay engaged, the greater chances are you're going to get shot by somebody else. Okay, here's the LSOs here. Let's go ahead and get our pass real quick.
The pilots are hoping to receive a grade of OK, which means excellent.
A little high start to middle, little settling close, little flat to ramp, OK 3 bar. Okay. Nice job. And Slim, you in there? 303. 60-second interval. What we're looking for is 55. A little too much power and close, a little high at the ramp. Okay, 3, nice pass. Really nice job.
Stinger's coming up here.
Yeah, I'm
First pass.
All right,
yeah,
exactly.
Thanks. See ya.
A great day for Nugget Pickett.
All right, thanks a lot. Good job out there. Nice pass.
He's pushing me pretty hard. I got a little, few more better passes than him, but if he does well, hopefully by the end of the cruise, he should be at my heels, if not doing as well as I am. But I don't think he'll get to be as good as me. Not this cruise, at least.
This day, one of the F-14D Super Tomcats will make a supersonic flight.
We don't get a chance to fly supersonic as much as we'd like to because the sonic boom bothers a lot of people. But when we get out to sea like this, we get a chance to do it. It's a ball. I've only done it about a dozen times. Got a couple different things we put on our bodies prior to getting in the jet. This here is called a G-suit. By basically blowing up with air using the jet, blows up these compartments here, and around your abdomen, and that basically just keeps all the blood up into your upper extremities and your head so that you don't black out and lose consciousness.
Lieutenant Strobel, the radar intercept officer in the back of Lucas's plane, operates the weapons system and communications.
When I first climb into the jet, what I'm going to be looking for is I'll just take a quick sweep around the cockpit and make sure there's no loose attachments or anything like that up on in the cockpit. Then I'll start looking over my ejection seat. And this is the thing that we count on if we're ever going to have any problems with the jet to keep us alive. And what it is, it's a seat that has a couple of rockets attached to it. So basically we're sitting on a couple of rocket motors under this thing. Either one of us pulls our handle, the canopy will go first, then a half a second later I'll go, and then a second later he'll go. So this, then me, then him. And then we get shot out to different sides. My rocket exhaust will not burn him as I go up the rail.
Lieutenant Lucas, 27, is a Nugget on his first deployment.
I'm going. How's things going, man? Good. All ready to go here? All right. I basically fly because I want to become an astronaut when I was young. And once I found out that being an astronaut and flying was all pretty much the same thing, it was a natural step. F-14D is the most remarkable aircraft in the inventory of the Navy. It's the fastest aircraft by far and the most powerful. And it's a beautiful thing.
It's unusual for a plane to make a supersonic flight near the ship. An audience gathers on the island deck called Vulture's Row. Lucas heads for the ship and his supersonic flyby. Most crewmen have never heard a sonic boom.
Straight down, you follow, and then you water. That opens up.
Anybody who witnessed this aircraft accident, I'm going to need you to write down a statement and turn that in to Flight Deck Control. And I'd like to
while we hate to lose any airplanes at all, the fact that this has come out apparently so well, it's something we ought to feel real good about, and that's all.
Oh,
There we go.
Here we are.
All right, there we go.
Is that smoke right there?
We just got to the bow of the ship at 635 knots at 2,000 feet, and we felt a big shudder, actually 2 big thumps. And I asked Rick, what was that? And he said, well, our right engine just stalled. So at that time I said to the boss, can you send the rescue helo over our way, just in case anything got any worse, then we'd have the helo following us around. And
which is very cool in that type of emergency. How you doing? State of panic. The man was in a smooth, controlled. Yo, boss, send the helo our way.
And our wingman calls out, your right engine's on fire.
And I couldn't even move the stick. It was frozen. It was it felt like there was no hydraulics in the system at all. I couldn't even move it. And I determined, well, hey, we have no control of this aircraft. The tail end is burning, and we're out of this thing. As I reached for my handle and set over the ICS eject, I'm thinking, I cannot believe this is happening.
My first thought was, this isn't supposed to happen to me.
I didn't see anything really, probably because my eyes were closed, but I just felt this huge rush of air in my face, and I probably was screaming in my mask.
The ejection itself was a lot more violent than I would have ever thought it would be. That is without a doubt the most violent experience I've ever undergone in my life, and it's something I never want to have to do again either. Once was too many times. So one thing that I kind of missed out about this whole thing is a couple of years ago in the Navy, when you were in medical getting your physical, you would have gotten a nice shot of medicinal brandy, but the way things are going these days, we didn't get one, so we kind of got gypped out of that. But
Lieutenant Twig LeBranch also survived a crash. He and Lieutenant Commander Lepla have been flying for 7 and 14 years, respectively. They share searing memories.
So, I mean, I'm lucky to be here. I mean, this is my ejection. And there I go. I go off the end of the bow right there, and I realize that there's something wrong because the aircraft doesn't want to fly. It's wallowy and mushy, and it's the control inputs I'm putting in aren't reacting the way I want them to. People are screaming to me, climb, 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 and the aircraft's not climbing. They're screaming eject, 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 and we get out, me and my navigator get out sideways.
You did eject sideways. It looks like you skipped on the water and then...
When I initially got the word to eject, I had to hear it 3 times. I was so busy flying the aircraft that I wasn't interested in ejecting at the time. When I pulled the handle, I almost didn't pull it, because I knew it was too late. By the time I pulled the handle, the horizon was at 90 degrees, and I knew we were out of the envelope, so I didn't think I was going to survive, and I thought I was going to go neck first, and I didn't want to feel that. And to think, to ride the seat like that, it's a pretty violent ride. I was an inch shorter when they pulled me out of the water, a full inch. So it was blind luck. It wasn't my time. So I'm up in double digits with friends of mine that have passed. Most of the jets we fly are 2-seaters. When you lose a friend, you lose them 2 at a time, because either they both make it or they don't. You know, it doesn't get any easier how many times. I mean, the hardest part for me was losing my best friend. I mean, he meant a lot to me, and it was hard to believe that he was gone. And I had seen him a half an hour earlier, before he went flying. I saw him just before he briefed, said something to him in passing, something insignificant, you know.
You see, now you're a source of information on an ejection situation, because you've gone through it and survived, and now you can instruct other people like me that have never been in that situation and help me understand what it's like. You know, if I ever face that situation, I may think about some of the things you say. That's the purpose of safety stand-downs. That's the purpose of us watching these films.
I waited way too long. I was lucky, and we learned from that, and hopefully, and I know it's the policy of our squadron is, hey, you know, not that we just chuck jets, but hey, make sure that if you're going to pull the handle, you pull the handle in time to save your life.
From Hawaii, the ship heads west for stops in Japan, Hong Kong, and Singapore.
Once you become a qualified plane captain, you get your name on an aircraft. This is my jet. I'm responsible for it. I've got to make sure that it's set up, ready for flight. So all the pilot's got to do is jump in there. It's ready to go. I got to make sure that nobody comes up here because the seat's armed now. This is a safety pin, so say when we're doing maintenance on the jet and you accidentally knock the ejection handle, if this pin's in, nothing will happen. But as long as this pin's out, the seat's armed up, and if anybody were to pull that, this ejection seat's gonna go out. So pretty much the pilot's just gotta get up here, jump in, start her up, take off. Ducks are good.
12 hours of intense responsibility and danger on the flight deck. Then long corridors lead to Jorgensen's substitute for home and a few hours of free time.
These are the berthing areas where the crew gets to sleep. This right here is a 99-man berthing area. It's quite small. They seem to shove a lot of people into this small area here. Got about 9 people that live in this area right here. As you can see, you don't have a lot of space. The mattresses are only a couple inches thick. You got your divisional curtains for privacy. Other than that, that's about it.
We just all got off work, and this is where we sleep, so it's
like a relaxing place.
No one else is here.
It's time to shoot the breeze, be able to talk about things that happen during the day, things about what we're looking forward to when we get home, just all kinds of stuff.
I can't wait to hit Australia. I'm sure another 2,000 guys can sympathize with that too.
Amen.
Hey. But more so, I like to hit home. That goes without saying.
You live this close to someone else, and if you can deal with other people, that's fine. How these boat people, they say they love it, they can have it. I want off. Never.
Well, that sounds incriminating to me.
Yeah, it does.
No, I can say that because
he
that's
can say that because by the time this airs, he'll be out of here. Place where we can sit and relax.
Oh, come on. That's it. Let's go. Get my cloud on now. Get it on. Where we at? Just go. There you go, Daddy. Rolling. Come on. Come on, y'all. No. The gas got the space over here.
You'll find a lot of different country people. I thought I was country, and there's a lot of different country other than Arkansas. Someone was telling me there was a 2-lane bowling alley here. I looked for about 2 months trying to find that bowling alley, and to this day I haven't found it yet, so I don't guess there is one here. I've been pretty much all the way around this boat. All right. I've been on this boat over about a year and a half now, and I haven't seen the whole boat. I don't guess I ever will.
There's no bowling alley. Just ropes and buckets.
The average age of our crew is something just around 21, maybe a little over that. I think people who join the Navy to see the world, or because it's more than a job, it's an adventure, as our recruiting experts say, they finally get to a ship at sea. I would say that probably 95% of those who arrive here find it to be wildly different than they expected. The mental stress on people at every level manifests itself in a number of ways. We have very few cases of clinical depression, but we have lots of cases of mild depression. Our chaplains not only run our religious programs, but are probably some of our best counselors.
Cleaning bathrooms is as far apart from what I thought I'd be doing. I've been in about a year and a half.
Why'd you come in? What do you want to do?
Well, my original intent was to get money for college and hopefully, you know, get 4 years of college out of the way while I'm in the Navy. It just seems like a total waste of 5 years. You know, I'm in for 5. And what am I? I'm cleaning bathrooms. What is that going to prepare me for on the outside world? If you really want to make fun of somebody, call them a lifer, because that's somebody who's going to stay in, make a career out of the Navy, and there's no worse of a cut down or, you know, make fun of somebody than to call him a lifer, because that's just saying, yeah, he's straight up, he does everything just perfect by the Navy books. And the guys like me and Glenn, that's just a joke. Well, are you going to be a lifer, Glenn?
I'm a lifer. I want to be an air traffic controller. And so I figured the only way to get, you know, schooling and on-the-job training and get paid while I'm doing it was to, you know, let Uncle Sam pay for it.
I look at it this way. Coming in the Navy was the first biggest mistake of my life, and signing up for 5 years was the second, and the third corresponds directly with the 2, because with the $768 I got, I went out and got this tattoo, and I can't stand it. So.
This is one of the type of meals that I really hate to make on a ship feeding 5,000 personnel, but we do it to please the personnel.
Because we are about customer service.
Because we are about customer service. Okay, this is where most of the bulk of the work is, right here. We have to keep taking the cans, ravioli, opening them, dumping them in the copper, and preparing them. The only way to get done, the only way to keep up is to stay ahead. If you fall behind, I'll jump in and I'll help these guys. That's my job. Sometimes we run out, and of course we're not allowed to run out. He'll open it up and I'll grab it, and I'll dump it in. We like the teamwork part the best. I start on the vegetables. It looks pretty good. I like spinach. I love spinach, as a matter of fact. I don't prepare everything I love just for myself. I prepare it for the crew. And I think the crew love spinach just as much as I do, so.
I'm very proud to work under this man. Learn his expertise and knowledge.
We're from 0700 to 8, 9 o'clock at night every night. We have to keep everything hot, or we'll make somebody sick.
Yeah, it sure is. He's real lenient.
Lenient? He looks mean to me.
No, I'm not mean. I'm a nice guy.
A swift passage through the Indian Ocean has brought the ship into the Persian Gulf. Attacks on the Carl Vinson could be launched from land masses only minutes away. Air crews and pilots are on call night and day.
Okay, on the flight deck, just a reminder, all hands, it's getting pretty hot out there. Temperature is at least 96 degrees. They're going to be going up in excess of 100 degrees today. Everybody take plenty of water in there. Make sure you stay in the shade when the opportunity presents itself. Start feeling tired, let somebody know.
Whenever there's not aircraft airborne, you got to have the ship in a defensive posture with aircraft on the deck, and that's what we've been doing all night.
It can get pretty boring most of the time sitting out here in the middle of the night, but things can get real exciting real quick, and that's why we're here.
And if anything happens, we'd launch off the front end of the ship here and go out there and take care of business.
In the combat area, Admiral Clark, who commands the battle group, has instant access to an array of constantly updated strategic information.
Our presence here is giving our allies, our friends in this region, confidence in rebuilding in this post-war era. But we're also here to perform a function. In the southern part of Iraq, the United Nations established the no-fly zone. And each day we're conducting operations enforcing that no-fly zone. And we have a dozen ships arrayed throughout the Gulf today. I have destroyers up there to ensure that no shipping goes into Iraq that has embargoed goods on it. Several of our ships, including our submarine, are equipped with Tomahawk cruise missiles that can reach hundreds and thousands of miles into Iraq if need be. When people ask the question, why do we need carrier battle groups, this is one of the best answers that anybody could ever provide. We need carrier battle groups because they can go to regions like this and influence events throughout the world. And when the job is finished here, we can take this battle group and all of its influence and move anywhere in the world where we are needed.
It looks like a bomb, but actually it's a 3-camera photo pod. Flying surveillance this day is Lieutenant Mike Gordon, 28.
We have to keep track of what the Iraqis are doing as far as complying with the UN sanctions and also moving their military equipment around. Main things we've been taking imagery of lately are their SAM sites that they're trying to upgrade or move back into. Also a lot of the airfields, seeing if they're completing construction on the runways that have been cratered and damaged, and if they're moving any aircraft down south, which so far they haven't been as far as we know. Now I'm flying the F-14D, and I absolutely love this thing. You can accelerate from 300 knots up to about 600 knots in about 20, 30 seconds. You get the feeling of speed, the rush of power. It's got 30,000 pounds of thrust per engine. Put them both into afterburner, and you get about a G1/2 to 2G pushing you straight back into the seat. Just has more moving parts than just about any other plane you'll ever find. But we're restricted in flying at fairly high altitudes because of the lack of hostilities and the lack of any kind of risk.
We're extremely busy with TARPS imagery up here in the Persian Gulf. After the Gulf War, TARPS became a paramount photo reconnaissance platform, and its value was really noticed by the higher echelon. We get tasking from the U.S. Central Command, and they give us a list of targets that they want us to image for that day. And the aircrew will go ahead and fly the mission and return anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours later. Right now, it is the only forward-deployed tactical airborne reconnaissance pod system left in the armed forces. Once the aircraft returns, the photographer's mates download the film and they take it to CVIC, the Intel Center on board the aircraft carrier, where within 5 minutes to a half hour, depending on how much was shot, they process this film. There's the Tigris-Euphrates River, the cradle of civilization. When I was flying there during the Desert Storm, there was just massive carnage and a lot of smoke, fire, oil slicks everywhere. It looked like an ecological disaster. You thought it was the end of the world there when I saw it. Looks quite green now, though. Once that film is processed, it's taken immediately to a light table where photo interpreters go ahead and annotate the targets that were imaged by this pod. Once they image it, they go ahead and cut the negatives and they make hot prints. These hot prints are immediately taken to the Admiral for review, and at the same time, they're reviewing them. They're being digitized and transmitted to our end customer.
Okay, the pilot and air crew usually come down. They play an important role in the debriefing process. They can help us locate the targets, especially since they overflew those areas. They know what we're looking for, and they know how to help us find the spots where the target is supposed to be. So they have an important part in the debriefing and finding the targets on the film. You guys got about 40 targets then today. Yeah, we might have set a new world record for targets.
Sorry,
Afterburner takeoffs are exciting, but in the pilots' minds, there is the nagging realization that a twilight takeoff means a night landing.
When the sun goes down around here, that's where the rubber meets the road. Nobody takes night landings lightly, because they're difficult every time, no matter how much experience you have. Take the pinhead of a needle and put it out in front of you. That's what the ship looks like at 3 miles. You don't know which direction it's moving in. You don't know how fast it's moving. You're closing on it at 130 miles an hour, and it's moving away from you at 30 miles an hour. You only have so much gas out here in your jet. You know, your jet weighs a certain amount of pounds, and you can only carry so much fuel when you're bringing aboard the carrier. So you only get, you know, maybe 2 looks at the aircraft carrier before you have to refuel.
A tense group in flight operations tracks the fuel status of the returning aircraft.
Commander Driscoll. So we're just prepping in case we need it. Well, right now I have 4.5 thousand pounds of fuel airborne, and guys start going around and around. I'm going to need more than that, so I'm just giving the head of the game here with that, walking that air crew early.
The Air Wing commander and the captain want constant updates on the number of refueling tanker planes in the air.
0.5 available right now. We got a tanker train.
Well, this isn't like you're on the freeway when you run out of gas and you can just coast to the side of the highway. Here you run out of gas and you end up going in the water. The pilots and the ship are battling against the clock. Every minute an airplane is on approach, he's burning about 100 pounds of fuel a minute, which is about 15 gallons. It becomes so stressful down here just due to the fact that we only have a limited amount of time to get these airplanes on deck. And this limited amount of fuel is the difference between life and death around the carrier.
Hard for me to get off the steps sometimes because my knees are shaking so badly, especially on the passes, the nights that are really dark and the passes are really bad. That's something I don't like to experience, and it's I always think about that up there in Marshall when I'm ready to come on down. So.
This is one of the last deployments for the A-6 Intruder. The plane is being retired.
My airplane, the A-6, is going away. I'm too senior to transition to another airplane, too junior to really think about going anywhere else and making a difference in another community. So, in all reality, I'm going to be forced out of this business that I've grown to love. I try and imagine what it's going to be like knowing that I will not be coming back to the ship anymore. But I am going to miss this. It's going to be, this has been quite an experience, and it doesn't seem like it's been 14 years, but it has.
I was able to get to become the top nugget for the first line period we had. After that, things went pretty well, but I wasn't quite able to break into the top 14. Just missed the last time, and I got a whole nother cruise to go, plus workup, so next time maybe I'll be in there. Something to work for anyway.
I've been accepted to a flight school in Oklahoma. And it's been a joy working on these aircraft the past 2 years. Now it's going to be my turn to fly some.
There are many homecomings. The planes fly to their home bases. The ship docks in San Diego and San Francisco.
Beautiful day for San Diego flying. Yay! Our husbands are flying in together.
Ship pulls up alongside the pier, and there are hundreds, and even in the case of the carrier, thousands of family members. waving at sailors on the ship. That's a very moving and emotional experience.
New dads are the first sailors allowed off the ship.
Labor. He's in labor right now. Baby boy. Baby girl.
Big boy, 10 pound, 13 ounce. Big boy, real big boy.
Baby girl. Baby boy.
Baby girl.
Baby girl.
Daddy loves you.
There. Go. When we first flew over the beach, feet dry, I was just so happy. You can't put into words that what it's like being away for 6 months. Think about it. That is way too long for anyone to be away from home. I got things to do. Now I have a life. It starts today.
It's perfectly contented.
You know what? I don't care what the commercial says. It doesn't get any better than this.
Frank Martinelli, promoted to lieutenant commander, will leave the Navy for the uncharted waters of civilian life. Lance Jorgensen, off to flight school. Slim Pickett will return for the next deployment. In 3 months, this great ship and her crew will go to sea again.
Flyg, flyg på Sol.